Hi, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. I'm going to give it some time. We're going to go ahead and get started soon. Welcome, welcome. I'm super excited because today I am surrounded by some amazing women who are doing amazing things, and I can't wait for you all to just hear from them and to learn from their experiences and everything that they have worked for, have built. It's such an exciting conversation. First off, I have to also thank our sponsors, Mary Kay Global Design Studio. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I want you all to know that you can feel free to drop your questions into the chat. And yeah, we'll be saving the last 10 minutes for Q&A so we can have all of your questions answered. So I'll go ahead and start by introducing myself. My name is Alexis Bennett. I am the commerce writer at Vogue magazine. And that means that I write shopping stories for the website. So not only am I getting some of the newest and latest brands featured in our magazine, but also I'm working hard to make sure that their products are actually sold. And yeah, so I'll go ahead and pass it over to my lovely panelists. Maybe Nikki, you want to go first?
Yeah, hello everybody. I am Nikki Venus and I'm the founder of Style Coach Academy. I am a business coach for personal stylists and style coaches. That is my jam. They come to me when they are ready to level up the business development side of their business. So that is what I do. That is my jam. So
Awesome. Carrie?
Hi there, I'm Carrie Colbert. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I run a venture capital fund, and we invest in female-founded businesses, including Glamhive. So I'm honored to be an investor of Stephanie's and look forward to chatting with these lovely ladies today.
I'm Heather Catania. I am the founder of Social Fleur. We're a female-owned, operated, and run digital agency in Los Angeles. We primarily work with celebrities, macro influencers, and beauty brands. Some of our clients include Priyanka Chopra, Ashley Tisdale, Taraji P. Henson. Work with some really amazing, badass women, and for sustainable beauty brands at Target, Sephora brands, and things like that. So excited to talk about brand building and social media today with these incredible women.
yay.
Awesome. And we also have Victoria.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria. I am a fashion stylist and a publicist, a former fashion director in magazines for over 20 years. And right now I help brands elevate and make sure they get press placements in Hispanic media and US media.
Awesome. All right, so let's jump right in it. Heather, you kind of already mentioned, branding, and it's so important. I feel like no matter what industry you're in, even if you work for a company. So what is the most important thing that someone needs to do in order to create a successful personal brand?
Yeah, so in order to create a successful personal brand, you really need to know who you're talking to. And also, there's so many different ways to build a brand, but really understanding who you're serving. I think when you put service at the center, in the nucleus of your brand strategy, you kind of win every time. Oftentimes brands are created that really don't solve a problem. We're in this era of brand building social media where, you really have to educate, inspire, entertain. And so when you're building a brand, really think how is my brand solving a problem? What are the challenges and pain points of my consumer? What keeps my ideal consumer up at night? Those kind of things. If you build a brand really focusing on the pain points and challenges, and then you're able to position yourself as a guide where you can bring someone along on this journey to transformation and really solve a problem or transform something for them in their lives, their businesses, personally, professionally, that's really where to start if you're looking to build a personal brand.
Totally. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? I think that was.
I think that is the foundation. Those are that's like the foundation. That's the basics. Once you're able to nail your target audience, then the second thing is to making sure that you can master your brand voice. because once you master your brand voice and your messaging, things align with your marketing strategy.
I think one thing that's inherent in all this is that we have to keep in mind that there really is no more hiding these days. You know, there used to be a bifurcation between, you know, your personal life and your work life, but you know, regardless of how you feel about cancel culture or whatever, I mean, we can all agree that things don't really stay hidden anymore. So you know, you've got to kind of know your values and stick to those at all times, because really that's what's going to eventually, you know, form your reputation, which is essentially your personal brand and how potential clients think of you.
Yeah, that's so true. Just to add, Carrie, too, it's, you know, you really can't be someone online and offline. Like those two identities can't be separate. You know, you really have to show up. I think authenticity is such a big thing these days. You can't show up one way, you know, online in your social content or in your digital content, and then, you know, live a different way. You know, there has to be a through line of integrity, authenticity, letting your personality really shine too, especially as, you know, if you're a service provider, a coach, or, you know, stylist, really like showing your personality and showing up in that really authentic way and letting people, you know, get to know you, establish trust. You know, content is such a relationship to your consumers, and it's a really, like, it's such a big way to establish trust.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I always say it's very important to show up in your content using video, so you can showcase your personality, whether it's on your feed, whether it's in your stories, because people buy from people, and people buy desires versus wants. It's very important.
And people buy emotionally, right?
Exactly. Understanding how your potential client make buying decisions is very, very crucial. It's very important.
Now more than ever, people want to feel, you know, they're yearning for that connection. And when they make a purchase or a buying decision, they want more than just an exchange of, you know, dollars for a product or service. They want to feel somehow connected to the brand or the person behind the brand in some meaningful way, whether that's a personality or some sort of, you know, social impact that the brand stands for, you know, whatever that is. They want something more than just exchanging dollars for products.
Exactly. And I hate to say this, but people are selfish and they're thinking of themselves. So they're like, okay, how can you actually be the solution to the problem that I'm having right now? So they're just thinking about, okay, how can you actually solve this problem that I'm having? So
and as a content creator and as a brand owner, you have a responsibility to your consumers. That's the other thing. It's like you know, you have to show up consistently, like driving so much value through your content, giving away value for free. You know, that's the other thing. Like so many brands invest in content and content strategy because it's again that trust builder. It's the way to really, you know, create an emotional connection to your audience, and then get your audience, put your audience to work, get them to share your stuff, to talk about, you know, what you're selling or what you're doing too. I always call it G2G marketing, which is like girlfriend to girlfriends, you know, because women, we share, you know, we're always talking about like what products we use, you know, what coach we're using. It's so much of that. Word of mouth and referral, and, you know, especially in the digital space, is really, really important to all of our brands and to all of our personal growth too.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
I wanted to get Victoria in here and ask, do you think that it's necessary to hire someone to help you build your brand, or to help you strategize when you're trying to build a personal brand? I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. You cannot do it all. You won't be an expert in every vertical of the business. And once you start that process of brand building, you have to nurture and strengthen certain relationships. You have to follow up with your tactics. You have to measure up and keep track of your KPIs, your key performance indicators. That is a lot of work. So my advice is to surround yourself with people that knows what they are doing. ROI, it's precisely that, return of investment. So let's say in influencer marketing, what's the value of that story you're getting for every dollar you have invested? You need to have a laser focused goal, be measurable, be tractable, have strong KPIs first, and then take it from there. So absolutely, definitely having people around you that know what they're doing will help you build your business.
Definitely. I think it is important to have that team and just so you can focus on the things that you're good at, you know, and outsource other things that you aren't. Don't try to learn everything. You don't have to know everything. Find someone else who can complement you and who can do those things that you aren't good at. And so speaking of focusing on, you know, the things that you are good at, I wanted to bring it back to you, Nikki, and just talk about, you know, as for aspiring stylists or people who are looking for clients to style, like what's some advice that you have to help them book styling gigs and styling jobs, you know, because at the end of the day, you could build a personal brand all you want, but I think we're doing all of this, you know, in order to get the gigs and to get the jobs. So if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I would I like to just capitalize on organic marketing, and to be able to do that, and Heather already talked about this, but you want to make sure like you have the foundation together first, which is your target audience, your ideal client. Once that is mastered, then you tap into figuring out what your offers are, right? And then we get into brand voice and showcase that in your messaging, in your marketing strategy, making sure that you can articulate how you can be the solution, making sure that you're not only providing value content, but you're providing decision-making content. That's very, very important. And once you showcase your expertise and stand out as an authority, as a style expert, the clients will come. They will definitely come.
I love that.
Show more of you, show you your personality, because people fall in love with that. And you want to be able to showcase your personal style as well as your client testimonials, because it's just like going to a hairstylist. You don't want to go to someone who's a hairstylist and their hair is a hot mess, right? So if you're a stylist and your style is a hot mess, I'm not going to believe that you can help me. That's so important, so important. So as long as you're able to show up, show you, show your personality, show that you are indeed a style expert, your clients will come to you for sure.
And I think that the whole just journey of, you know, doing something on the entrepreneurial front it's just scary, especially because there's so much in the fashion industry specifically, there's just so much uncertainty. So I was wondering, Carrie, if you had any advice for people who feel like it's too late to become an entrepreneur, like what can you tell them to like motivate them or to help them kind of stay the path?
Sure. Well, you know, I think it's never too late, and I'm a perfect example of that. I actually had a 20-year career in a totally different industry. My background, my education anyways, in engineering and finance, and I was in the energy industry for 20 years, and I had the chance to kind of retire from that and figure out what I wanted to do next. And I knew that I wanted to use some of the skills I'd built, but in a totally different way that was more fulfilling and satisfying to me. So that's when I pivoted and started investing in female founded businesses myself as an angel investor for the past 5 years. And then in the last year or two have started this fund to do more of the same. So, you know, I think it is the case that we are inundated in a good way with stories of, you know, these young overnight sensations. And I use overnight in quotes. I know nothing happens, you know, overnight, but it seems like sometimes that we're always seeing images of people who have made it by the age of 30, you know, that they've, you know, found their calling really early in life. And I'm just here to say that that's okay if that's not how it worked for you. It's okay to put in time and be learning along the way of what you like and what you don't, professionally speaking and personally speaking. You know, some of us, it takes a little longer to kind of settle into our sweet spot and find that, you know, career path where we feel super fulfilled, like we're using our talents and strengths in the best way. So yeah, if it takes you a little longer, that's okay. I mean, there's always time to jump into what you want. Just be learning all along the way of, you know, I don't want to do this. I do like this aspect. I don't like that aspect. So, you know, as long as you use everything as a lesson to propel you forward, you know, there's always time to start something new.
Oh, Carrie, I'm so glad that you said that. Oh my goodness, because here it is. I'm about to be 40 next month, and I felt like that being in corporate. My background is business risk management and quality control. And when I was in corporate America, granted, I loved my job. I loved the people that I worked with, and I had a lot of things that I've learned to incorporate into my own personal business. And when I left, I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm catching up. Like, I'm catching up, and I was scared to actually take that step out on faith and like really go full throttle. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm catching up. And I just like, now I'm doing it. And I had to like take a step back and like, it's okay. It's okay to be in this space and be able to do what I love right now. And I had to just, it's okay, Nikki, that where you are. And I was like really thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm behind the game. Like, here it is. I'm like getting close to 40. And I'm like, it's okay. I tell anybody that is in their 20s or 30s, and if you're in a space to where you're like second guessing if this is the right move, like, what you're expert at, what your jam is, right? If you can go ahead and take that step out on faith, do it. Like, I had so many opportunities to do it early on, but I was scared. I was so scared. Like, looking back, I wish I would have jumped out early, because now I'm in a space to where it's just like, oh my gosh, I love this. I love this. But, I think that that's so important, because a lot of times we think that it's too late in the game to like kind of start what you want to do in any type of entrepreneur, any kind of industry, right? I think that it's really, really important. Do what you love, go full throttle, have the plan, and just execute. And don't feel like it's too late, because that's what I was feeling. I felt like it was too late. So I'm so glad that you said all of that. That helped me.
Well, good. I mean, that's been my path. And I also think there's a lot of pressure these days, because it is possible to start your own business, in whatever way you want, utilizing social media and all these ways we can kind of be our own brand. It's also good to hear that it's okay to work for a company for a while. It's okay to, take a little while longer until you're comfortable doing your own thing. Just think of all that as paid training, right? Like, you're getting paid a salary to learn how to do things and to learn what you like and what you don't like. And, something from that will hopefully carry over into what you're doing next. Even though I worked in, kind of an old school industry, the company where I spent the vast majority of my time was very entrepreneurial minded. So even though I was not passionate about, oil and gas industry, I was passionate about the entrepreneurial aspect of it. So I just learned all I could from that. And then when I was at a point where I could, step away and take some time to figure out how I wanted to put those lessons to work in a way that I felt more, fulfilled and more passionate about what I was doing, I had the luxury to do that, because, I'd been kind of planning for that moment, learning everything I could, saving up, and investing so that then I could go out and do, what I felt called to do. So It's okay if you're older when you're an entrepreneur, and it's okay to work for a company or, work for someone else for a long time while you figure it out. That's not, anything to be ashamed of. Just, again, just use everything as an opportunity for learning, and eventually you'll find your sweet spot.
So right. Like, I had to like really master the space and the role that I was in. Man, that has helped me so much within my business. Like, be the best employee, like learn everything that you possibly can, in every aspect of what you're currently doing. It definitely will help you, for sure.
And even too, when you're working, if you're working in corporate and your soul feels called to do something else, maybe it's 1 hour a day that you can dedicate towards like your side hustle, or like, building that new brand that you want to build. If you need the financial security and you're after the financial security of a job, like, what can you do just daily, one step forward, one foot in front of the other, right? I think in all of our careers, like, it didn't happen overnight. I think we're constantly seeing everyone in their like season of success on social media, and there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes to arrive there, and social media is such a highlight reel. So it's like, just every day, if you can take one action to drive your dream forward, or like learn a new skill, or reach out to another woman asking for mentorship, or asking questions, showing up even at events like this, right? So, there's so many available tools for all of us nowadays, and just utilizing those tools and driving our dreams forward, just one step at a time.
I think sometimes we go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just you guys are speaking to me even personally, because for me, in order to get to where I am today, I had to like, okay, let me take a step backwards. Like, And I think that's something that holds a lot of people back, is that when they're on their way, you know, up to the top of the mountain, they're afraid to say, okay, I may need to go back down to the bottom in order to find the path that's going to help me get to the top. For me, I had to intern after getting my MBA, do free unpaid internships in order to get that magazine experience. So I think that's one thing that really stops people, is that they're afraid to kind of, you know, step back and find opportunities that align to where you want to go, even if they aren't paid, you know. But if it makes sense in the long run to where you're trying to get, like I always say, just take those opportunities. So
And that's where we have to set the ego aside, right? And do what is most beneficial to us, regardless of how it looks or maybe perceived by others.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I think everything is a stepping stone to the next.
Yeah.
And you learn from everything. And I always try to see the positive, even in the negative things, because those are your learnings. And no job is too big for anyone. You know, I'm the type of person, and Alexis knows this because we work together, that I could be a fashion director, but I'm the first one sitting in the floor going through samples and jewelry and everything. Like, for me, I don't like having that ego. I think it's important to be in touch in every part of the business, and no task is too small. So definitely.
I love it.
It's so true. And I think too, as women, I think we're always, you know, and this is something that comes up for me with clients and with people that I work with. It's like, well, what if this decision is wrong? Like, what if I'm not choosing the right thing? What if I give up this career in corporate and then this doesn't work out? And it's like, okay, and what if it doesn't? Like, are you gonna die? Like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And sometimes we do have to make a wrong move to like be led to the right thing, you know? The whole concept of failing forward, it's like, you know, we get one step closer every day, just the more action that we take. And so even if, you know, you're led down one path that doesn't feel aligned anymore, you can always pivot. Like I always say, like, launch fast and pivot, right? Because you're going to learn something every day. And even like this whole landscape of media, social media, fashion, the industry, the world is just changing so frequently all the time. You know, we have to constantly think of, you know, new strategies and new ways to innovate and new ways to just align ourselves with our passions. And the only way to do it is really just to get started and like put one foot in front of the other. So, you know, if that fear is coming up where you're afraid if you make a move outside of your corporate job, you know, it's not the last thing that's going to happen. You know, there's just so many options for all of us, you know, these days, especially. And so just be willing to take that step.
Exactly. It's okay to pivot. I mean, pivot as many times as you need. Give yourself grace, give yourself space, and give yourself permission to make that pivot. It's okay. Like building a brand is like building a house. Like it always requires maintenance. Like it always requires maintenance. If you're not, I mean, your house could break down if you're not putting in that maintenance, right? Like you have to treat it the same way. Your brand is going to require maintenance. It's okay to, you know, make the pivot, make any necessary changes that you feel is needed in order for you to grow. If you're not making changes and modifying things within your personal business, then you're not growing.
Right.
So true.
And to Heather's point about just going ahead and launching, just remember that progress is more important than perfection. So I always think something is better than nothing, and progress over perfection. And that's me speaking to myself and my, you know, engineering mind that likes to overwork problems sometimes. Sometimes just go ahead and take that step. You know, being the first mover sometimes is a real advantage in any business. So think about, you know, just taking that first step, even if it's not perfect, that's okay. You can fix it, or you can, you know, take another step that is better than the previous one, but just put yourself out there and start that movement forward.
Yeah.
I would say progress is perfection, because, you know, it's just, again, we're never really done, right? Like in our work, in our, you know, there's so many, and I think too, women have so many different acts. And as we arrive at the place that we really wanted to be, you know, maybe 3, 5, 10 years ago, the target changes, right? Like, you know, the levels just keep getting higher, and, you know, and that's really what growth is. And so, you know, we have to have this willingness to keep expanding and keep growing into who we are as we evolve as people and as artists and as creatives.
Mhm.
I really wanted to touch on, you kind of mentioned earlier, Heather, failure. And then Victoria, you talked about, you know, finding the good in everything. And I think one of the major things that holds people back is we're always looking at everyone's highlight reels on social media. And we don't see the failures. You know, people aren't documenting those, you know, no's that they get or whatever it may be. So can each one of you kind of just go through and maybe talk about a moment where failure has really helped you in your business? And then after that, I'm going to open it up for questions. I saw that we have a few in the chat. So everyone, if you have questions, go ahead and drop those in there now, and I'm going to try to get those answered.
Okay. Yeah, when I first started out as a style coach, I used to actually compare myself to all of the stylists that I admired, right? And I thought that, okay, I needed to offer all of these particular services because that's what's typically offered in our industry. And I would always tell my husband, oh, I have to have better pictures. I need to be able to post this and do that. And I had to take a step back and say, that's not true to me and not true to how I want to present myself professionally, as well as not to my brand. And I found that I was getting less clients because I wasn't all the way true to me. And that was a huge setback when I first started. And I had to take a minute to like kind of come together, a come to Jesus moment. and really just like make sure that I owned just me and be me and just be okay with everybody may not be into me. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's perfectly okay. And I think that a lot of times when you put yourself out there on social media, you're scared to like show up like, oh my gosh, am I going to stumble on the word? Are they going to like me? It's okay. Everybody's not going to like you. You may not be the jam for everybody, but just be you, be true to you, and just know that if the client is not booking you for your particular service, then that's not the client for you. But you have clients that are definitely related to you. They want you to be of service. And that's one of the lessons learned that I remember as far as when I first started. I wasn't really being true to Nikki and just showcasing me and comparing myself to everybody else. I think that we get so overwhelmed looking at social media and like, oh my gosh, I see this stylist. She's over here working with this celebrity, or she's crushing it. She's making X amount this month. And you start to compare, you lose your brand voice. That's what I was losing my brand voice, trying to do everything that I saw. And then I became stagnant within my business because I would start all over. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I got to do this now. And then I would go start back from the beginning. And I was getting nowhere. It was just like a cycle. Nothing was happening. It's like the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think, like you pointed out, Alexis, it's very important to show not just our highlight reel. I will say that I think there's a way to be vulnerable and authentic without kind of crossing boundaries that you have, right? So whatever that is for you that you're comfortable with, you could still be your authentic self. That doesn't mean that you have to share everything with the internet, right? Like people can still get a sense of who you are without knowing everything about you. So if that's a concern for anyone, just remember that you can be authentic and still have boundaries. The other thing I'll say is that while I was even still working my corporate job, I started an Instagram and blog and whatever. And so I've got some women that have been following me for 10 plus years and, you know, a pretty sizable community, very loyal and intense. And they've seen me go through so many personal ups and downs and business changes and everything. And, you know, breakups, a divorce, whatever. Not all fun and rainbows and sunshine, as they say. So anyway, they've been with me and seen me go through hard things and good things. And now that I'm out there, we're about to launch a crowdfunding campaign for our venture capital fund. And I am just so blown away by the kindness of people and how much they're very much bought into me and want to be a part of what I'm doing. You know, I get messages every day, you know, tell me how I can invest, tell me how I can do this, and, you know, tell me how I can be a part of what you're doing. And so really, I mean, it's all a long-term game about relationships, right? It's showing up consistently, authentically, and just being who you are, being a good example, give back to people, provide value. I think Heather said that earlier, without expecting anything in return. And in the long run, that will pay off for you. You know, you're doing it not expecting anything, but ultimately you'll get more than you ever hoped for.
Mhm. So true. And, you know, both Nikki and Carrie, like all of that advice is so, you know, incredible and so true. Something I really have carried with me for such a long time is, you know, there are no problems, only puzzles.
Mhm.
And, you know, sometimes a no, and some of the most successful things that have been born into the world is like, you think of, you know, J.K. Rowling getting turned down by 37 publishers before Harry Potter was, you know, greenlit and turned into $1 billion empire. And there are countless stories like this. And, you know, I remember I have a very like high ticket one-on-one service, and I work with celebrities, and, you know, I was really burnt out, you know, probably 2 years ago. And I was like, I want to do a digital course. I want to create, you know, a digital product, do something that doesn't require like so much of me all day, every day working in social media. And I worked with a business coach at the time. And she said, well, you can't launch a course because you don't have an audience. Because I was not building my audience. I was so focused on building the audiences of my clients. And that's where I poured all my energy. And it crushed me because I was like, you know, am I never going to be able to get off this hamster wheel? I can't launch my course, which is what I really want to do. And so I thought, you know, how can I do this differently? And so what I did was I was like, I might not have a big audience, but I know a lot of women that do. So I went out and I said, you know, can I co-create a course for you? Can we create a class? Can I help you tell your story towards entrepreneurship? And I sort of shifted the spotlight on a couple of really incredible female entrepreneurs that I thought were so inspiring. And I launched this platform. It was, you know, a massive 6-figure launch. And, you know, our community grew to 50,000 in under 4 months. And it was really, really successful, but it was an obstacle at first.
Mhm.
And so sometimes a no, or getting a door closed in your face, or whatever it is just such an opportunity to think about how to do something, or think about something in a different way, and how to innovate. Because sometimes something might not exist. You know, maybe there's a container where you're like, I have this idea, but you can't put it into words because you don't see it out there, you know. And sometimes you just have to create it. You have to pioneer it. You have to just blaze that path for other people to follow. So a no can really be an open door sometimes too.
Mhm.
Man. Victoria, did you have anything you want to add on failure before I get into some of the questions here?
Sure. I wouldn't call it failure, but I would definitely call it a lesson learned. At the beginning of my magazine career, I was a fashion director at a magazine, my second magazine, and I was only 23 years old when I became fashion director. I was young, but I was confident, and I was very passionate of what I was doing. When I would style pages together, and you always have to show all the creative directors and art directors and everyone to approve it, I started getting criticism. And it was hard for me to take the criticism because I was so passionate of what I had put together. And the lesson I learned in that was that you really need to listen to other people and people that surround you in the creative world and everything, because it will make your work better. And once I learned that lesson, where it wasn't only about what I like and my own vision and style, and when I started taking in other perspective and I started changing the way the styling of the page looked, I got a different product, but another product that I felt really strong about, and it made it better. And that was a big lesson I learned at the beginning. And I'm glad that I learned it, because if I didn't learn it, then it would have been a failure. And it's something that I still, when I style and put things together, I love asking everyone around me what they think, because you style for a lot of readers. Everyone has a different style and a different persona, and you want to cater at least try to cater to everyone.
Mhm.
And it's not about you only.
I love that. I think especially as creators, we can be sensitive about our work. So, but yeah, that's something I'm working on too. It's just like feedback is a gift, all feedback, whether you agree with it or not. And so don't ever look at it as a negative. It's a gift and you can learn from it. So I'm gonna jump into our first question. I don't want to mess up the name. I'll just say the last name, Baker. Has a question that says, do you think you need to specialize only in one thing to be a stylist? So I guess maybe they're referring to like finding a niche within the styling community. Is that something?
Yeah, so I think it's really important in order for you to be able to stand out as a style expert, as an authority, for you to niche down, for you to be able to have that one ideal client that you want to be of service to. Once you do that, it comes very easy for you to market. When you just say that you're a personal stylist for everyone, it's almost like you're talking to every woman in the world. You know, you want to be able to showcase the expertise and who it is that you want to be of service to, your specialty. And that it makes it very easy for you to be able to market yourself and your styling services a little bit easier organically, especially for you to be able to narrow down. So you definitely want to niche down for sure.
And then Talia says, do you ever deal with imposter syndrome? I guess this is to all of us or anyone. I'll start by saying yes, absolutely.
Okay, all the time.
Imposter syndrome is a big one. And I think all entrepreneurs feel it on some level. And it's really also just, that's why it's so important to start before you're ready. Because, you know, so many questions will be like, who am I to live this life? Who am I to launch this thing? I don't have this training, this certification, this blah, blah, blah. Like, there's so many things that, you know, we can all say to ourselves that are just limiting beliefs. And, you know, it's just so important to start before you're ready, because then you get mileage under your belt. So then you're like, oh, I can do this. You know, I can survive this. I can figure this out. I can, you know, pivot, all of those sort of things that are just so important, you know, for our belief system. And this is why I think, especially for, you know, if you're launching or going off on your own or becoming an entrepreneur, even, you know, service provider, mindset is so important. Mindset is one of the biggest, you know, work on your business strategy, work on your content strategy, and work on your mindset. You have to prioritize mindset work as much as you're, you know, investing in social content or your website or your copy, all of those things. Mindset is so important, because as you're breaking through, you know, limiting beliefs and your own sort of like mental, emotional barriers, you need to have those tools. And that's really, for me, that's what really conquers imposter syndrome again and again as I evolve and grow.
Coming from a very male-dominated industry in my past, you know, I remember early in my career thinking I needed to look a certain way and act a certain way and dress a certain way to fit in with my colleagues. Only in later years did I understand that it's truly our uniqueness that brings value to the table. So, you know, don't alter who you are to fit in, because if you're like everyone else, then you can't stand out and you can't add value. So really, we need that diversity of thought in our professional lives, whatever career we're in. It's our uniqueness that's going to bring value to the table.
One of the interview questions I hate is like, oh, we just want to see if you're a fit for the culture. Like,
what does that mean?
I need to come in here and I need to add a different voice. Like, everyone should not be cookie cutter, look the same way. And especially in what I do at a magazine, there's, you know, there needs to be different people in the room at the table making decisions. So you have to own your difference. Like, that is the thing that gives you your edge.
Absolutely.
It's your superpower, always.
Yes. I'm just trying to squeeze in a few more. So Sarah says, I am very into vintage and vintage inspired fashion. Do you feel like there is room for that in styling?
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Law Roach, one of my favorite stylists, he's always pulling archival pieces and putting them on his clients. So definitely.
Fashion always comes back. So you always have to refer to all the eras in fashion. So absolutely.
Mhm.
Jessica says, how do you get out of the hamster wheel?
Oof.
Just have to do it. Just like Heather said, you just have to move before you're ready.
Mhm.
And just know that, I mean, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, I put content and projects out all the time, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm 100% ready, but I have to do it. And just it's going to change anyway. I'm going to modify it again anyway. But you want to definitely make sure that you're moving definitely before you're ready, because if you're not, you're always going to second guess yourself. You're always gonna come up with an excuse of not to go ahead and launch, not to go ahead and move forward.
Mhm.
So yeah, just do it.
Yeah, and also you are in charge of your life. That's the other thing, because if you're waiting for permission, you're waiting for a green light, like you got to give it to yourself, and you will just be running on that hamster wheel until you make the decision to get off. You know, so do whatever you need. If you really think about what you need to do that, like what are your blind spots? What tool or resource do you feel like you don't have? Like just really take inventory of those things and just, you know, find out where you can get them. Again, like, you know, hiring a business coach, a mentor, taking a course, like anything that you need is so available to you. And so just really take inventory of like what you need and just, yeah, take the leap.
Yeah. I like to always say that you're the CEO of your business, right? You can fire and hire yourself as many times as you want.
Mhm. So true. So true.
Well, we are at time. I'm so sorry we didn't get to everyone's questions. But if you guys want to reach out to any of these ladies, I don't know if you all feel comfortable sharing with how they can potentially get in contact with you really quickly before we have to sign off. If you guys want to share that.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. I am Nikki Venus. That's my Instagram.
I'm Victoria Lincoln.
On Instagram, I'm just at Carrie C.
And I'm at Heather Catania. You can also go to my website and book a discovery call with me. It's thesocialfleur.com, or even email me, heather@thesocialfleur.com. Would love to connect with all of you.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And if anyone has a question for me, it's my name, but with the underscore in front. So thank you all so much. This was so helpful. I feel like I am going to finish my Saturday like I can accomplish anything now. So thank you guys so much for this chat. I hope it was helpful to you all too. And we'll see you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.